Hello YouTube, it's Dave with Smiles Flies. Today we're going to be working on the gold-ribbed hares that are how to tie. So I'm going to get right into it. I'm going to start off with putting my tail in, which I'm going to use a little bit of turkey for that. I would normally use Coq de Leon, but the stuff I have is more of it's a different type of Coq de Leon. It's very thin. It makes a great dry fly tail, but it's not going to work for the purposes of this. So anyhow, I got the clump of turkey, and the way you want to do these is you want to half the length of your shaft is about how long you want that tail to be. So I'm going to put it right there. You just want a little tough for a tail. It's not a big deal. Just a little tiny tuft of hair. Or should I say turkey? Okay, and then I want to twist it back because I want it to be on top of the hook. Sometimes it tries to move on you. I'm not going to have that today. Yeah, I like the way that looks. And I'm going to do what I normally do. I'm going to wrap this forward and wrap this down to help with my body, because this is definitely going to have a taper to it. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the gold-ribbed hares here. Gold-ribbed hares here. I'm sure you have. They're in about every fly fisherman's box, because they represent stoneflies and many other species of flies. They mimic, I guess is the best word to use there. So I'm going to pull this up to the top and snip it out. Get a real close snip. Just like that. You can't even tell there's anything there. That's a perfectly good tail. And I'm just going to take the time to wrap a couple of these fibers down. There we go. And then I'm going to come back to about midway, almost midway. And I'm going to jump in here. And being that I production tie, I've always got every kind of different wire pre-cut already, so I don't have to mess around every time I'm tying a fly going through it, and I don't have to sit and cut it every time. I have it ready to roll. So there's a piece of gold wire. And I'm going to go, oh geez, don't fall on the floor please. Okay, that fell out of my sneak tweezers. Okay, so I like to put this right in behind the eye. About as close to behind the eye as you can get. Right about there would be perfect. I'm going to go ahead and start the wraps here, and I'm going to do my best to try to keep it on top. Some people like to let it come down either on the left or the right side because they like to wrap it that way. I like to have it on top. Sometimes when I get to the back, by the time I'm done wrapping, it does turn one way or the other, but as long as you can wrap it through for the ribbing, you're good to go. So, there we go. Here we go. I'm lifting up to check to see that I'm back to at least where the tie-in and the tail stops. I'm going to go one more, maybe two more wraps. There we go, and then I'm going to wrap it back up to about the midway, right there, and stop. You know what? Hold up. I'm going to go the whole way to the front again, just to cover up that wire that's sticking. I don't want to be seeing all that. Not that it matters, but I'm particular. So there we are, back to about the mid spot. Okay. Next step would be to use a lighter colored dubbing, like a light brown or maybe even like a sulfury color. I just looked up several of these, and everyone I looked at had a rather light colored part of their body, the body itself. And when it comes to dubbing, less is more. This can be your friend, this little dubbing wax. You just take it and you get out the amount of line you want, which you don't want too much because then you won't be able to wrap. Me anyway, I'll be slamming my camera and stuff. I don't want to do that. So there's that. And you'll see immediately why that comes in handy. And less is more when it comes to dubbing. You just use a little bits at a time. Put it on the thread and twist, and it's going to stay there. It's not going anywhere. It makes it really nice thin noodle too. I love it that way. And it's always nice to lick your finger and run it between your thumb and your finger. Rub it together and get it just a teeny bit moist. And I'm going to go a little further, about another inch of dubbing down, and I want it nice and tight. And I'm going to save this just in case I need a little more. And then what we're going to do, and I have a little space to give me a little room between my dubbing and my thread, because I do have to go backwards. So now we're going to start wrapping back towards the tail. We want our first wrap to start right about where your wire's at, or right against your tail, which is right there, and then we're going to work our way up. Nice and slow. Just, you can lay just a regular even layer right now. You're not in a, no need to try to taper it right now. You could if you wanted to, but now that I'm up where I want to be, I'm going to want to put a little more dubbing in, which is going to require just a little bit more wax. I don't need a lot more, so I'm just going to do like 3 inches of my thread with wax. And then I'm going to take my time again and put this dubbing on little by little. Less is more with dubbing, I promise you. You guys will find that out if you haven't already. When I first started, I used to put it on ridiculous amounts, and my flies wouldn't look real uniform, but I was tying for myself at that point, so I didn't really care. It's when I started production tying that I had to make it matter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up one more wrap. Right there, I got a nice area for my thorax, and I'm going to wrap back over a couple wraps, and then back to the top again, back up front again, and I'm going to stop right there and wrap a few wraps right there. And the bugginess to it, don't worry about that. You want that. That's what this is about. And then you want to take your gold wire and make some segmentation. And you may not even be able to see your wire when you're done wrapping because it'll sink into the dubbing. But once it gets wet, it'll stand out. Don't worry. Don't let that screw you up and make you feel like you're doing something wrong, because you're not. This piece of wire went up. There we go. Nice. And I'm going to stop right there. Pull a little bit of thread out and wrap it in nice. And it doesn't take many wraps. You know, I'll give it 3 or 4, maybe 5 wraps, and I stop. I usually wrap in front and behind and spin it off, you know, make a helicopter, you know, do the helicopter. But I'm not doing that today. I'm just going to snip it with my wire snippers. There it goes. And then I'll take my hand and I'll wrap this the rest of the way around so it doesn't cut your thread when you're tying the rest of it in. Okay, and I like to go back a little bit. That's looking real good so far. All right, next step would be you want to use some turkey tail. And you're going to want to cut a little slip of that out. And what I like to do with any other feathers, I like to pull it out to the side. Get just what I think is enough. Which... There we go. So now that we've got it good and straight, I'm going to take it and I'm going to tie it right in here. And you don't have to worry about like the length of it, front and back. Just get it tied in where you need it. And then I like to lift my fibers up and then just kind of, that didn't work out the way I wanted it to that time. So I'm just going to do the best I can to snip most of that out of there. I don't need it all out because we can wrap it in, which is what I'm going to do now. Sometimes if you think it's going to be too long and it's going to come up and crowd your eye, you can pull the fibers back and wrap them in. And you'll see here in a minute that I didn't crowd my eye. And I've got a pretty nice area to go with. Okay, so now that we got that tied in, and this stuff sticking up, don't let that stress you out. I'm going to come right back to where that tied in, right there. And I kind of like to pull back on it to make this is going to be the wing case, obviously. Okay, so then you want to do your thorax. And on the thorax, your dubbing needs to be a little darker than the back of the dubbing in the back. So I'm going to go ahead and go with this really cool looking brown. And this stuff is hand mixed dubbing from a guy here on TikTok, or over on TikTok, 814 Flying in Time. His name's Caden. He mixes up some pretty nice dubbing. And he made me this little box of dubbing and stuff and wanted me to try it out. I kind of like it, so I've been using it pretty good. And your thorax, you're going to want to make it fairly, I don't know, pretty big. You know, but it doesn't have to be tapered now. It can just be one, like a cylinder. That's about all you need to do. Now that I got that out, back to the tire's best friend, that dubbing wax. And I like to Rub it up and down and get it nice and coated. Not enough to leave the wax on the thread, but, and then again, as I said before, I like putting it on, even though I'm going to be using a lot, I like putting it on pretty sparse, because you can always build it right up. And what I love about that wax is literally, it almost acts like a glue in its own way. And it grabs the dubbing, like I don't even have to, like I can just stick it on there and it's staying. You guys just saw that, right? Okay, we're going to go right here, and I'm going to build that bottom part up just a little bit thicker, but I don't want to go overkill. And I feel that's pretty good. And if there's a lot of fibers sticking out, like that's a good thing, because you want that little bit of a buggy look. There's a piece of wax that's stuck on the thread. And I don't want to sit here and sound like old Mainly Flies that nice buggy look. I think he's funny as crap. Old Jesse Rochester. Anyhow, you're going to build this up. Some people like to go front to back and then back to the front. I go back to front and then from the back to the front again. And you want to have it a little bubbly, a little bit more bubbly in the back, and then you just come up front and make a little bit of a thread head. And that helps to get those fibers out of your way. And you want to have an area there to be able to tie your fibers down without getting too crowded on the eye. Which I'm feeling like that's pretty good. I might be wrong, but we'll see. Now we're taking the wing case, flattening it out as best we can, pulling it up to the front. And I like to hold it still with my hands. And I'll do a pinch wrap in my hand and get on the other side of the hook and catch it, pull, tie two wraps, and then get a hold of it here and lift up. Don't pull forward, whatever you do, because it'll slide everything right over the front of the hook, and then you might as well just start all over again on the thorax. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to wrap that quite a few times. And then I'm going to grab this and give it a real close snip. And this is where these fly smith scissors come in handy. They really do. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to continue to make the thread head. That's looking pretty good. And get the old whip finisher. I got this from Anadromous Flyco, or A Flyco. It's Anadromous though. But you could look up A Flyco and find the same thing. They've got some nice tools over there too. Their scissors are pretty good too. 1, 2, 3 to 5 wraps usually. Get it in there. Bam, there we go. That's a nice. Get up in here and snip that out. And these extra fibers, well, you know, they don't mean much yet. Not much to worry about just yet. I kind of like them that way. I don't want the super long ones there. So then the next step you want to do is hopefully you have a dubbing brush. If not, you can get a piece of Velcro or whatever. And I didn't build the side. What I do is I rub up, I take it and I stroke up on both sides. And that pulls some of the fibers out, and then you can just rub them back. And now it looks like there's hairs coming out from underneath the wing case, which gives it that buggy look that everybody talks about, which is very important on these particular flies. It's an important thing. You want that. And I'm going to go a little bit more serious with it. Yeah, I like the way that looks. Some people will use, another thing you could do too is you could get your dubbing pick or your bodkin out, and you can run your bodkin in there and pull some of those fibers out. You just don't want to catch the thread because then you ruin the fly. But I want to pull some of them out, and that did a much better job for me. So I'm going to get in here on this side and do much of the same. Get some of them fibers and pull them out to the side, and then they're going to be a little long, of course, so you want to go through and pick out a lot of it and then just stroke it back. I like to lick my fingers to do so. And then those real long ones I'll pick out, and if they don't cooperate, that's okay. We can just go snip them out. I'm okay with that. Yeah, I really like what I'm seeing right now. That's a nice gold ribbed hairs there. That's pretty much the complete fly. I'm going to go back through, because I do have a little bit of stuff around my eye. Not much. It wouldn't affect the tippet going on, but I don't want to have any problems, so get in there and use that old cautery pen. Take it to the top of the eye of the hook. and do that, and then go right under to the bottom and do the same thing, and there it is. It cleaned it right up. And this is up to you guys. You can or you don't have to, but I like to put a little bit of UV resin on the wing case, at the top of the wing case there, just to, I don't know, I think it makes it look better. And you don't need a lot. You just want to, you want to cover it, but you don't want to, don't overdo it, because you'll have problems. Then you'll get a big bubble of resin. It'll make it look silly. But there we go. That's what it is. And then take it and we cure it. Where's my light? I have a couple of them. It shouldn't be hard to find one. Get it all nice and cured. And I'll do what I always do for you guys. There is the gold-ribbed hare's ear nymph. A very intricate fly to have. You really want that fly in your box. You do. On those days where the fish are being stubborn, you use one of these, and it's almost as if it's like a searching pattern, because it mimics so many other flies that maybe they'll take it. These produce. All right, so there you go. The gold-ribbed hare's ear nymph. There's the top of it to give you a look, and you see how the fibers are coming out. What it is all these fibers coming out the side are acting as it's going to turn into an emerger soon, so it's going to have hair standing up, and they're all underneath that wing case. So, and then what will happen is, as it tries to break the top of the water after it becomes an emerger, then they get a set of wings there. But there you go. There's a gold-ribbed hare's ear nymph. Thank you guys for being here. If you liked what you saw, please give it a like. Give the video a like. And if you haven't subscribed to me yet, well, why haven't you? I mean, come on now. Hey, thank you guys so very much for being here. God bless y'all. Have a good day.